On the show with me now, David is about to join me to talk about Chelsea. David, look, you've had a pretty good season so far. Poor result today, collapsing right at the end. What went wrong for Chelsea today, barring conceding 2 goals? Why do you think that happened?
I just think we didn't make subs when we needed to. The game was getting really end-to-end, and I thought, we're going to bring on a couple of people. I just took a look at our bench. To be fair, it wasn't the strongest bench. But there are still, like, João Felix could definitely have come on and given Everton a different problem. I know, Guiu maybe, I don't know. But it's tough because, again, I never said we were in a title race, and this was the exact reason. Because I remember distinctly being on the top 6 about 3 games ago saying, oh, yeah, because I was talking to CB, and CB was like, we're playing Everton, we're playing Fulham, we're going to beat them. And I sat there and said, those games are not simple gimme games. And if we don't win those games, how are people going to look at our squad and like look at where we are on the table? And ultimately that's happened. And now we're just in a simple, as we should have always been, we are fighting for top 4. And that's the ultimate goal of the season. So again, is it a bad result? Yes, it's a bad result. But again, you have to look at overall the way the squad's been improving. We are going to lose games. And I think we've gone on such a long run of not being beaten that when everyone's going like, you're in a title race, there was the reason why everyone in the club is like, no, we're not. It's because we are just not ready for that. Like, it's very simple. We're just not ready for that. Do you know what I watched on Christmas for the first time? The Matrix, right? I know. I should have watched it earlier. It came out in 97. And when in the Morpheus, like literally, this is how I see Chelsea now. Morpheus is like throughout the film, you're the one, you're the one, you're the one. The only time when Keanu Reeves actually becomes the one is when the Oracle who's meant to know everything goes, no, you're not. You're not him. So you better simmer down and that's when he goes like, actually, let me just focus on what I'm doing and I'll improve on my own. And then ultimately he goes on to solve the problem. That's what I look at Chelsea as. Right now, everyone was just going like, you're the guys, you're going to do it. Mo Salah's posted on Christmas. We all know what happens to Liverpool. You're going to win the league now. Thank you, Chelsea. It was like, everyone needs to everyone needs to look like where we are as a club. If someone had told us at the start of the season, this is where we'd been incredibly happy. So let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater.
And this is where you're bang on, David, right? Because me and you disagree on the definition of a title race, because there isn't a distinct one. And that's fair. Like, but when me and you we're both grown ups, we're both mature, we're not going to argue over that. You see it one way, which so I get why you say you're not in a race because of how you define it. You get why I say you are because of how I define it. However, what we both agree on is Chelsea having these 2 results. There is things to criticize. There are players that you can be frustrated with. You can say, managers should make subs. We should have taken this player off. What the hell was Sanchez doing kicking the ball long? That's all fair. What I'm not going to do is start suddenly going, Chelsea, yes, I feel like today you bottled it. I'm not going to lie. However, I'm not going to start saying you're in a title race. You haven't gone on to win it. That means you're failures. It means you're never going to win anything again. I believe that's why a lot of Chelsea fans have struggled with these conversations, because as soon as you say, I think we're in a title race, regardless of your definition, people then go, right, so if you don't win it, we can call you shit. And I feel like that's such low-level banter. At the same time, though, it seems to have an impact on people having grown-up conversations. And what you went through today is why I didn't think you would win the league, even if you were in the race until right near the end. And that's because your players, as a collective, are young. They haven't been in these situations. And because you were a Chelsea fan when you guys were at the top, this game today I felt like if you got through this game with a win, it would be so significant, because you kind of felt yourself lose control of the match. Sanchez was making save. There was great last-ditch tackles. I was watching thinking, this could be a real sort of seminal moment in your development. However, you can still get that from the defeat. If Maresca handles it correctly behind the scenes, and there's no reason to say he won't, it's about sort of growing from this defeat as opposed to letting it damage you in the long term. You'll know this is what you do for a living. There are times where you'll have made mistakes in your early days, and you can grow from that and become better at your job, or you can allow it to lead to more and more and more. And I just have a feeling that as bad as today is result-wise, I think in the medium to long term, today is going to be a good thing for Chelsea. I think it's going to help. It's going to help a lot of these players grow.
ultimately, hopefully, in the next situation where we've got 3 minutes to go, Sanchez doesn't boot it long. That's why in the group chat when I said, Sanchez, why are you doing that? Everyone's like, yeah, David, why aren't you talking about your defense? It's not about that. The thing is, if Sanchez has just played it simple and passed it to Tosin, the defenders who are out of position because they've gone forward to try and get us an extra goal with the extra men forward, they don't have to then sprint back at 100 miles an hour to get back in position, because ultimately they're not going to get there because they've all gone forward anyway. If he had passed it to Tosin, then either Tosin can punt it long and at least then put it in a better position for us. And like Sanchez booting the ball, he's only going to get it to about just past the halfway line. He's have a massive like boot to kick it through. And if they had won that ball, which they did, then it would have left us completely open. Hence why I thought he should just pass it to Tosin. But again, that's something you learn from. And it's something that you can grow from. Hopefully we don't do it again. It's when you start seeing repeated mistakes, that's when it becomes a problem. It's going to happen again. We'd gone on a 5-game win streak. We'd been unbeaten in the past, I know, 12, 13 games or something ridiculous. So again, we have to lose at some point. And I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm not saying it's like a good thing to lose, but there's a lot to learn from it. And these players need to learn because again, we're the youngest squad in the Prem. That's the short stick of it. You're the youngest squad in the Prem. You've got to grow.
No, I agree. And and this is the thing as well, what they also have to learn, these Chelsea players, is that the better they become, the more they win, the more they score, the bigger the expectation from the fans, the bigger the expectation from the media, and the more pressure rivals put upon you. And that changes. It's one of the reasons why I will never put, like, how good he is on the ball. I'd never put a Matt Letizia, I know before your time, in the conversations with the top players in his era, from Arsenal, from Liverpool, from Man United, from Chelsea, because he didn't do it in a team where the level of pressure and scrutiny upon you is magnified to the point, like when you're at United or Chelsea, the media attention, rivals on top of you. He played for a team where if they lost 4 or 5 games on the bounce, it was okay. I think that handling that pressure is a unique experience fairly unique experience that you only really understand, and you can only really digest it when you've been through it, if that makes sense. And you'll know this as a Chelsea fan. When you're in a title race, or you feel like you're moving towards one, which you kind of believe you were building a base to potentially be in one, the games, there feels a bit more pressure before those games, where if you guys were just in the top 4 race, so you were nowhere near the top, but you were comfortably in top 4, I think you win today. I think that, but you have to go through those uncomfortable moments to become a better team. And you'll get a lot of people in the comments that will say, what do you mean feeling uncomfortable? They spent over £1 billion. Yes, but we know Chelsea's strategy. It was to buy young, to develop a team that in 2 or 3 years' time is good enough to start challenging for Premier Leagues. They spent their money that way, as opposed to buying 5 players that were ready-made to go at that particular moment. And look, time will tell whether it was the right approach or not. It's not one you can judge it now and give an opinion, but let's see where you end up. In terms of individual players today, I know you didn't win, but Palmer again today, David, just had another excellent game. The goal from him was just out of this world, but maybe it'll kind of be forgotten a little bit now because you didn't win the game.
The goal was ridiculous. And he, like, in the first half, he was just, it was great to watch. It was just a shame that we didn't capitalize on the other chances that we created, because I felt if we should have gone at least 2-0 up, but we could have been 3 or 4 up, and that ultimately would have killed the game off, and Fulham would have been able to come back. That's the big shame about it. We need more killers in the squad. Sancho had a couple of chances where I thought he should have done better. Neto, I thought as well, didn't have chances, but got into really good positions and then made the wrong decision. And also Gusto needs better decision making as well, because we are trying to put him in a more forward role, and his decision making, while it's getting better, still needs a lot of improvement for us to be able to trust him. So again, it's part and parcel of the whole thing. It's just this team is not ready to do what people think it is ready to do, no matter how good the form is. I just don't think we're there quite yet. We just need to grow. And again, it's what people forget is this is Maresca's it might be Maresca's, I don't know, 60th, 70th game of his whole career. So he himself is still growing as manager. So the whole thing at Chelsea is it just needs a bit of time to let things. We're on the right path, but things just need a bit of time to sort themselves out.
I hear that. You're definitely right. I think today, when I look at, he wasn't really one of the main focuses for me, but when I think about Sancho's performance, it reminded me of a lot of the Man United performances. Did okay, But when you need that shot, you need that final ball was off. Neto was the same. I wanted to ask you about Nico Jackson because he has a fair amount of goals. How do you think he did today in terms of being in the right place, doing the right things to be that, to be the difference maker, as it were, between getting the draw and getting the defeat? Do you feel he did everything he could, or did you expect more from Nico Jackson today?
He got into good positions, and he always does. He just needs to be a killer, and he's not quite that yet. But it's like he's so frustrating to watch because the improvement is so clear to see. But it's whether he can develop this killer instinct of once I get in the box, I get my shot off, I know where the goal is. Because I feel like half the time his issue is he doesn't know what's going on around him. He's like, when he doesn't have any time and all he's done is taken one like scan of what's going on and then he strikes it, he's really good because he can just doesn't have to think about it. He just does it. But when he's got time to think about, oh, what do I have to do? And I've got to dribble round. And once I get into this position, can I do this? That's when I feel like he struggles. Today, he had a chance where he like got past Anderson like twice in the same play. And then as soon as he got into the box, he then spooned his shot because he's just not a killer like that. He's not a serious like, oh, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
Like he's just not that. He's not that yet. I think that will come with time. Again, I think his confidence right now is a bit low as well. I think he hasn't scored in like 3 or 4 games. So his confidence is probably a bit shot, but it'll be fine. It will sort himself out. It's just annoying that we don't have another person. Like, and Nkunku again is someone else who's not a main striker. He's a second striker. So he's not the guy to really like come on and then get you that extra goal that you need. So we probably do need a killer. But again, for me, goalkeeper and centre back.